Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cookbook. I'm your host, Iris Goldfeder, and I'm really excited about our guest today. And I'm laughing because I know this is shocking. We might have had a technical issue, right before we started, but I love Sonia, and you always hear me talking about the dames. And last year we were at Funference, and we were in the middle of one of the segments, or I can't think of the word for it, but one of the portions of the conference, and we look over and Sonia is in her bathrobe because as soon as that portion was over, she wanted to get her ass into the hot tub and into the pool. So it was just a great moment, and I just knew that I loved her from there. So I'm going to read her bio and bring her on. Okay, so Sonia Norviz is the CEO and operations strategist at Operation QOL, a BIPOC and woman-owned enterprise empowering altruistic entrepreneurs for greater impact. With a background in public health and a knack for operational efficiency, Sonia serves as the Chief Ops Optimizer, say that 3 times fast, Chief Ops Optimizer, COO, crafting bespoke strategies that propel organizations toward their goals with precision and empathy. And don't we need a bunch of that right now? Through her podcast, Talk Nerdy to Me, love the name, Sonia shares intimate conversations with experts offering actionable insights for personal and professional growth, and I can't wait to be on it. So without further ado, let's meet Sonia. See what I did there? I just kind of
Yeah, I loved it.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here. Really excited. And I got a new do just for you.
Ooh, and I love the do. So it's so funny because my, complete favorite memory of you was just, I remember looking over and I'm like, she's in her bathrobe. I'm like, we're all dressed up and, whatever. And there's Sonia with her, bougie slippers and her bougie bathrobe, because we did stay at a bougie hotel. I mean, we're doing it again. And Annie's like, I love this. What are you doing? You're like, I want to go to the pool and I want to be ready. And it was just, I thought, the most efficient thing that I've ever seen. So
yes. Oh my God. Yeah. I literally
that goes to speak to your efficiency, right?
Yeah. So I was like, we had a break and I was like, I really want to go to the hot tub. I can't even focus anymore right now. So, and the pool. And so I went and changed my clothes because I was downstairs from the room. So I was like, oh, then I have to go downstairs to go back upstairs afterwards. And I don't want to do that. And so I didn't even, I ended up going downstairs anyway because I wanted a cocktail. But it was okay. I walked around the entire hotel in that bathrobe, but it was fine because it was incredibly luxurious. Those bathrobes.
And I think the fact, and this is what I love about the dames, that, the fact that you were that comfortable to just be in your bathrobe. I thought that was an amazing testament, because how many conferences do you go to and you see somebody in a bathrobe? And, I was just, who was just on? Oh, my brain just fried. I just had another dame on and we were talking about the dames and I can't remember who it was. But that's okay. But I was talking about the big energy. There was so much energy in that room. And it was you had to go to the hot tub or have a drink or something, because it was just, at 3:00 on Thursday, I went up to my room.
Yeah.
It was too much peopling and too much, just too much energy. It was just holy crap. But it was amazing. And like I said, that was my favorite thing. So you need to show up to the first session. That's it. Session. In your bathrobe. And I keep wanting to say bathtub, but I don't think that'll be comfortable. So.
Yeah. I was like, should I buy kimonos?
I mean,
I'm like, okay, shopping here. Because yeah, absolutely. I mean, and those bathrobes, I may or may not steal one this year. Don't tell anybody.
I mean, well, don't say that on air. I didn't hear that. Somebody is in front of my house beeping, and I am in a suburb in Indiana. Like, are you freaking kidding me?
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a first on here. I'm like, what is that noise? It's like somebody's honking. Like, what the hell? Like, I'm back in New York, in the city. I mean, that I would expect.
I was like, that would happen here in New York, but it wouldn't happen there. So I don't know what's going on over there.
And like, if I was in New York, I would have like a soundproof room.
Yes, you would need
I would
it.
have to. Because you would hear all the, what the fuck is going, whatever, right? So, hey, Vinny, so anyway, there was like so much stuff that you do. Why don't you tell us about Sonia?
Well, Sonia or Sonia and Operation QOL, or Sonia as in Narvaez, or
well, I mean, so here's so you had a journey to entrepreneurship. We had that conversation, right? And this is about the journey to entrepreneurship. So
yeah. Well, I mean, it definitely has been a journey. I will say that.
Yes.
And it's really interesting. I'm actually first generation here in the US, and my mother is like a house manager and she cleans homes, and she's an entrepreneur. But growing up, I never made that connection because that's not really what we do. We, have to get a job, get a good education, like pay for yourself. Like that is I was either going to be a doctor or a lawyer. Those are the only two positions I ever learned. I don't even think like nurse was in there, but like only because I've actually visited the hospital. So, there was just such high expectations growing up. And when I went to college and tried to do all of the doctoral things, I realized that it just couldn't comprehend. Like I just could not understand why covalent bonds and ionic bonds mattered when it came to like taking someone's blood. And I was like, I'm never gonna get this. And so I had to like find a different path. And, oddly enough, even in college, I felt like the positions that I heard about were very limited, right? Like I majored in public health. And even that, that's a very general term, like public health officer, public health this, public health, like in doctor, lawyer, like there was no any other thing but these like high titles. So it was really kind of like, well, I guess I'll have to go to this other thing, like there was no way for me to know all of these different things. I don't even think I had the word operations, to be honest, when I was in college. And like, even in grad school. So I went to grad school and I have my master's in public health. And I focused on global health and community health sciences. And so I really, really look at, in public health, we look at really that proactivity. How do we affect as many people as we can, in terms of preventative medicine? And we really focus on trying to assist people, to get healthier. But while I decided to, go for my master's in that, and then I worked a little bit in research, I was living in New York City. And I remember really clearly, I was doing research as part of a study, and I was interviewing people in their homes. And here I am in the Bronx of, New York. And I was going into like these apartment buildings that were, not great. And
I was born in the Bronx, so I know.
Yeah. And I would go to people's homes and, there was a cockroach walking around on the table. And I was like, I just cannot like do this research and just be blind to your other like life symptoms or variables or whatever we want to call them. And I just, at that moment in time, I was like, I can't keep doing this. And I decided that maybe, public health in a different facet might be better for me. So I did more program management. I worked, in startups for pharmaceutical companies. And, I did kind of that, really trying to affect people on a different level. And it just didn't click either. And I was actually in a really great job where I was working from home. Before working from home was a thing, and I had the ability to commute into the office in Manhattan if I wanted to while I was living in Brooklyn, or I could stay home. But it still wasn't enough. Like, and I didn't have the word for it. I was still really miserable. And, when I sat down to think about it, and I didn't even have the word till like maybe 2 years later, which was fulfillment. We don't, that's not even, I don't know the Spanish translation for that. That's how little I know. Fulfillment, it's not a thing for us. It's not, you're supposed to work, have a good salary, survive, and procreate at some point.
See, and I'm going to disagree with that, because I think we're supposed to be fulfilled. That's what we are on this planet to whatever our, purpose is, but we're supposed to live a fulfilling life. I mean, I think that I truly believe that. And I think that, some people are fulfilled in corporate and some people are fulfilled in other things. So, but don't say that we're not supposed to be. We are 100% supposed to be fulfilled. Anyway, go ahead.
So to clarify, it's in my cult, like my parents, my culture, our first generation.
Okay. I gotcha.
I was like, we don't really, I mean, and so when I thought about that, to be honest, when I thought about the word fulfillment, I was like, I don't know about this. This is something foreign to me. I had to understand that, like, you're absolutely right. It is a God-given human right to literally find what fulfills you, and so I did all of that. And then I did a little bit about like EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. I did their Integrator Mastery Academy, and I really loved it for a while. I worked as an integrator.
Did you know?
And then I just realized that
there was a guy in Nina's video group during COVID, Sergey, and he was EOS.
Oh no, but that name does sound familiar. I don't know how many people there are with that name, but that name sounds actually really familiar.
He was a trip, and he was in New York. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I did work in a little bit, but I also realized like, I was a bit more of a rebel than I realized. And that one of my highest core values actually for myself is autonomy. So I don't, I have to be autonomous on all levels. Sometimes I decide things in my schedule and I'm like, past Sonia did that, future Sonia and present Sonia. No, she's not doing that.
Right.
And that's what, is even fun about processes and structure and things like that. When we create processes and structure and, anything in a business, it's all about what are those core values? What is your vision and what fits your needs and what you want to create? Because for me, I have, documented processes. We have task management tools, but I still have flexibility to like be me. And I always like to think about, some of this work as being kind of those guardrails on a mountain. Whereas, if I didn't have the guardrails, I could fall off, but it's not the drawing of the road. I'm not actually staying in those lanes. I create those lanes. Ooh. And so that's one thing that I'm a big sister. I started to try to put all these things together, right? Like the integrator wasn't working for me. I tried to put all these things together. And then it finally kind of hit me that I really loved operations, like work. Anything and everything that has to do with moving the business forward, it was like my love language. But what does that mean? Right? Like, does that mean I do marketing? No, I don't. I don't do any of those things. It just means that like, I know how to take care of everything, fix things when they need to be fixed. And in a loving way, say sometimes I'm the janitor and having to like, if the mess doesn't want to be dealt with, we've got to deal with the mess as operations people. So it was a lot of flexibility and I loved it. But I also think that it took me a really long time to get here. And unfortunately, I didn't have that verbiage, even that verbiage of operations. I still have to kind of really explain and go down what that means. Because most people don't understand. And it makes sense because the dictionary definition is anything and everything that moves the business forward, which is like, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're like, hey, I want to do it all. No. Which, I think that because I worked in operations, but in a different capacity. Right. And so it's so different now. It's not what it used to be, like all encompassing. Yeah.
It used to feel like, I mean, it seemed to me that it was more structured and regimented somehow, with the processes and, you were kind of clear about what is operations, right? But now it's just in everything. And I do it, and I think about it in my life as well. Like the steps to brush my teeth, right? The path, the GPS that I take, I actually will sometimes be that weirdo that will turn on my GPS to go to a place where I know, but I'm like, what's the fastest way? Like, what traffic can I avoid? What scenery do I want to see? What kind of mood am I in? Like, it's all about, optimizing for us too.
Yeah. That's awesome. And it's funny because I think that, people are like, they think they know how to do the things that they don't know how to do. It's like they don't know what they don't know, right? And that's with marketing, that's with ops, that's with like all of it. And, when you come in and you show them, what they need, basically, it's an eye opener for them. And, I don't know if I'm like, big on positive marketing. Like I don't do negative marketing. I don't walk into somebody's business and like, holy shit, what are you thinking? Right. I can imagine with operations, you're like, holy crap. Like what is this mess? But you're never going to say that. You're going to be like, yeah, okay, we can, we can fix this. No,
yeah.
And I, especially now, I think there are some businesses that are just super egocentric that they don't want to admit that they need the help. So how do you, because I have my own way of breaking that barrier, but how do you break that barrier? Because that ain't an easy one when they're like, yeah, I've been doing this myself for a while. I think I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons that I always really dive deep into, like, what is your mission? What do you want your quality of life, which is what QOL stands for in my business. What do you want that to look like? And what are your values? What do you actually want to do with, how do you want to feel fulfilled? So it's kind of in terms of, let's connect back to that why, to that reason, and then start speaking and having a conversation from there. Because I do believe, right, we can lead a horse to water, but we can't make them drink. And I have tried, though, a million ways to make people drink because I'm like, no, this is really good water. Like, here, let me put it in a cup. Let me pour it in my hands. Do you want a sippy cup? Like, what do you need to drink this water? Like, downright right close to like shoving it down their mouths, but only because like, I'm like, oh, this is it. This is obvious. But what I realized was like, when I get the vibe, and I'm sure you get this, when I get the vibe that I'm meeting with somebody who is going to not be open, who is going to be push every time, they're just not ready. And it's not something that I'm going to undertake because operations is meant to provide a better quality of life. It's not meant to help you feed your ego and feel better about what you know.
Yeah. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, but I do think like it is tough. It's tough that you don't know what you don't know. And with operations, like it's hard to say exactly like, this is the perfect time, right? Like, and which is actually true with everything, right? Like it's, people usually do everything later than when they should. But I think with operations, you just don't know to put your finger on it. With certain things, it feels evident, right? Like, oh, we don't have documented processes, let's assume, right? So it's like, oh, well, duh, we need somebody to document our processes. But there's people who just simply document your processes, right? As is. Then there's optimizing processes, right? And that's a totally different thing because you got to look at what's on paper and make it better. And then understand all of your resources and understand it. So like there is just such different things that can occur and different paths, like you mentioned, that you can go on.
I think with really anything, it's like, with marketing, it's so funny because the first thing that people will cut is their marketing.
Yep.
And that's what makes them money. And I just had a conversation with one of my clients who gets it. Because it was funny. He cut his social for a while. He's like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to,
Yeah.
and we were optimizing it for him, right? Like he would drop it into ChatGPT and write his post. And then my SEO person would be like, I'm just going to do this because it's hurting my head. And I'm like, go ahead, do whatever you need. So she would go in and optimize, and he would do it for like his blog, his social media. And it was like really apparent. And I didn't say anything because he didn't want to spend the money. I'm not here to, all of the sales managers that I know and all of the sales coaches that I know get mad at me when I say this. I don't sell. Yes, you do. But I really don't. I mean, I kind of do, but I don't. To me, it's like, if you don't think that you have a problem, I can't provide a solution. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
So when you have a problem, right? You want to do social yourself, you're freed up time now and blah, blah, blah. And so I get a call a month ago and he goes, oh, and we were doing his graphics for him for free. He's a really good client. He's a good friend. He spends a ton of money with me. So, if I can give him free graphics, I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah. I was like, okay, wait, let's talk about this more, but you got it. You got all your bases covered,
added
girl.
value. To me, anything that I could do is added value. So, that added value. So he goes, he's like, so, okay, how much is your social? So I told him, and he was like, he goes, fuck it, just do it. And I said, are you sure? He goes, I don't have time, dude. He's like, I just don't have time and I'm not doing it right. Mm-hmm. And I said, are you sure? Because I don't want to get, any of my teammates started on it. And then in 2 weeks, you're like, no, I'm going to take it back over again. He's like, please take it. So I'm like, okay. And to me, I was really proud of him. And I was excited for him. Proud to me is like, good boy, good girl, right? I was excited that he was able to see that he needed to let that go because a lot of people don't. And I told him, I said, I'm really happy that you were able to see that. I said, he goes, you are? I said, yeah. I said, because I'm going to be honest, since you started doing it, there's like a hole the size of my head in my office. And he just started laughing. And he goes, that bad? I said, it's not that it was bad, but you could tell that it was that you literally just went, okay, ChatGPT, write me a Facebook post on this topic. I said, and people who don't know, but the people who know. And a lot more people know than you think at this point because people can tell AI now. Everyone's using it.
My God. It is. I mean, not just that. You could tell. I know we have great friends who use AI for a lot of different things and, not to knock it. And it's a great thing for a starter tool, can you help me write? You know what I mean? It's great to assist.
But you have to add the human. You can. So what I do is I write an article because I'm a monthly contributor to, Breakthrough Author magazine. Should check it out. Just it on social media. Yeah. Anyway, so, and I did it on social media, right? Like social media for authors, like what they should be doing. And I wrote it out and I write like I speak. So there's a lot of, so I'll have like a Word document out and then I speak my article because.
I like that.
Because if I sit there and I type it, I have a million typos and I have to go back and back and back. I would rather talk it and take out 50,000 ums, look at it and go, what word is that? Oh, okay. I have to fix that because it's coming out of my brain. Right. And when I write stuff, it takes longer. And I'm usually, and Juliet laughs at me, but I'm usually deadline. It's like, okay, they have to be on the 7th. Iris, it's the 6th. I'm like, oh shit. Okay. That's right. So I talk it into Word. And then I talk my things out and then I drop it into ChatGPT. It's like, clean up my grammar. And it does. And it's my stuff. That's what it's for. To me, AI isn't to replace, it is to enhance.
I could not have said that better myself. I love it. I love it because you're absolutely right. And that is I just want to say too, like, that's your system. That's your that's your process. That's your system. That's your structure. That's what works for you. I did not even think about that. And I hate sitting down and writing. And that's why I literally stopped writing a blog, and I stopped writing a newsletter. I stopped writing any social. I stopped doing a lot of things because I would have to sit down and write. And I just between the ADHD and then 16 hours of staring at the computer, you're kind of like, let me not. I don't want to sit down and continue writing.
Yeah, I have my little ball here for my ADD. It's like I sit here and I pop, but yeah. And I'll sit here and I'll play with this as I'm talking to the computer about, because as ADD, we have all of our things. But yeah, so you should open up a Word doc and there's a little microphone down there and just start talking. It's the best thing ever.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm so excited. I'm actually going to try this and that's one thing that's optimizing, right? You're you've offered me a different way of doing something that most people tell me to do in one way, which is really what happens for, unfortunately, most people. They're like, oh my God, I tried Monday and I really loved it. So you should try Monday too. And all of a sudden you're going down the rabbit hole of 17 YouTube videos because they have a very, very extensive library of knowledge.
I hired Kristen Grasso.
Yeah, she's the best. She's the best.
We just had a Monday training yesterday on Monday. Look at that. We had a Monday training on Monday. Go ahead.
I love
Feel free to be a sponsor Monday. Okay, go ahead. So.
Yes, right. They should. Because it's for, specific people, specific teams, specific ways of working. But it's not for everyone. But what you've given me is a new way of looking at something that is, was not working for me anymore. And we needed to optimize it because I'm literally no longer doing it.
Wow. Yeah.
And maybe I should probably market my business a little bit more, but we're in that.
I mean, and here's the thing is I'm one of those people. So I grew up, it was me and my mom basically, because my dad and her got divorced and it was just her and I in an apartment in Queens. You want to talk about cockroaches? Oh my God. I have such PTSD from cockroaches that, so in Indiana, we have wood roaches and they don't multiply like cockroaches, but they look like palmetto bugs. They look like water bugs. Yeah. One got on my window. Well, they kind of try to fly in the house, but they land on the window. So last year I'm doing my full moon stuff and my new moon stuff. And I'm like, mother, and I take a thing and I just kill the roach because I can't. I can't. If there was ever a German roach in this house, they could take over the mortgage because I would be gone. I mean, that is just, but, and I just completely, okay. So God, see, this is what we do. I know. So I have two Michelles that listen to this. One is a friend of mine in where I live in Indiana, and she listens when she's walking. My other friend, who's also a client, listens when she's walking, and she likes the structure. So the one Michelle is probably laughing, and my other Michelle is probably going, "Oh my God, get to the point." So, but I was going to get to. So what I was thinking was, my client Michelle, wrote this amazing white paper, and she's like, oh my God, I just don't want to write anymore. And this gave me an idea to be able to say to her, hey, instead of writing, why didn't I think of this before? Open up Word and start talking. Because it is, you could write a freaking book like that. Okay, Mel Hirshorn, I think here we go. But it's this is, what you're saying with operations is finding a more efficient way to do things, right? In something different.
More efficient and more personalized to you, right? I think as we change, as we I don't want to say get older, but as we mature, we learn, things that we like and don't like and are way more growing into the people that we truly want to be, which is, one thing that I really loved and appreciate in the Dames is that the Dames probably helped me become much more authentic because I was uncomfortable being myself in terms of being weird or like quirky or like saying weird jokes, etc. So it really gave me...
Cope, we're going to cut that because she froze real bad. Start that over. So talk about it. So 3, 2, 1.
So one thing that I have to say is the Dames offered me this wonderful platform to really be authentic and to really be myself. And I had not had a space where I felt super like comfortable just being me. Because I was, felt like I was a little weird, quirky, like I have things.
We have a group for that.
And so when... Yeah, I know.
I'm in it, so.
But like when I know, but it's like, it's the different, like structures and optimizing things for the way you want it to be. So the places and spaces you want to make it. So even in my, just my new apartment, I moved into a new apartment. It looks like you got new digs.
And
I did. Yeah, I did. So I was living in another apartment, and I had furniture from my parents. God bless them. Thank you so much for being, semi-hoarders. And they had a whole bunch of stuff that they gave me. And like, but the apartment never really felt like mine. It's like I lived there, but like none of the things really belonged to me because it was my parents, right? Like it was them. And when I moved into this new apartment, I picked out, I like more or less picked out some of the things that they had too. But like, I also just started to pick stuff up from Facebook Marketplace. Like I was like, no. I really, really want a table that looks like this. This is what's going to make me feel like me and bring me more out, or bring me out more. And it's kind of that way with operations. Like once you find your process, your structure, you then have this ability to think higher. Right. So once this stuff is taken care of, let's step up a level and think here. And once this stuff is taken care of, let's step up a level and think here. But it really does take, foundation in order to really like not just get to know yourself, right? Because we got to try something. We got to experiment. And that's one thing that I always do for my clients. I experiment in the processes and systems that we create, because if not, and they don't like it, right? Like that's not helping anybody. I'm making no impact there. And that is not the point of my business. My point is to amplify my clients' impact without having to sacrifice their quality of life. Because ultimately, like, that's really what we're all here for, right? To have a really great quality of life and to really, really feel that fulfillment. But yeah, that's kind of how I look at that. And that personalization and that bespoke strategies that we create. So I could talk all day about this.
So what, I guess there are people listening to this are contemplating, right, entrepreneurship. And, the one thing I always tell people is that it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. So, because I have people just telling me all the time, oh my God, you're so successful. And it's like, yes, but, it didn't happen yesterday. I didn't start my business 2 years ago. I restarted it 2 years ago and learned a hell of a lot, but it's 10 years this year and it took 10 years. So what advice would you have for somebody who's listening, who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur?
I would say it's one of the hardest personal development journeys I've ever embarked on. But when I tell you I have learned more about myself than I ever would have in any other circumstance. And sometimes some parts of me like weren't pretty. Like I was fetal position crying a couple months ago, so like, it's not easy. And 100%, like I've thought about like going back to get a job or a job, and there's no shame in any of that, right? We all take pauses, and sometimes we need to take pauses to be better. But I had to do the same. About 3 years ago, I sort of really honed down on my business and really started to focus. And even now we evolve. So evolution is like natural in entrepreneurship, but it's not always for what feels like our benefit, right? Like I know I have struggled with certain things, but the awareness and like the authenticity of who I'm really living like every day now, it's just
it feels
miraculous.
Amazing, right? I mean, doesn't it? And I always say that if you ever really want to know what you're made of, become an entrepreneur, because it brings it all out. It brings the good, it brings the ugly, it brings the happy tears, it brings the ugly crying, it brings like all of it. And I remember last year when you were, going through a thing, right? And but we all do. I have been very fortunate that I was able to rebuild after, the little disaster a couple of years ago. And what's kept me going are my clients. And I don't mean their money. I mean their success, the stuff that I do that I know that helps move them forward. That's the stuff that jazzes me. That makes me go, whoo, okay, this is really awesome. And then they want to do more stuff. But I don't, if they want to do something and they're not ready, I'm like, don't do this yet. Let's finish this. Yep. And that's why I'm successful. I never sell somebody anything that they don't need. Right. And I listen. Like when they're talking to me about their shit, it's not like I'm going, yeah, go ahead. And, it's like I really, because if you don't listen and you don't consume what they're saying, you can't help them, right? You can't. You can take their money, right?
Not on any level. No, I was like, not on any level can you help them if you're not hearing them.
And I'm going to say that's one of my superpowers is I listen. And I don't just work with anybody. And I say this on probably every podcast. I don't, because not everybody's a good fit. And there are certain people that come to me that I'm like, I can't help you. And if I can't help you, I'm not going to work with you. So, and then there are other people that I don't want to help. That's like another story. Like,
that's your money is going. That's all different episode.
Like your money is going to things that can hurt my marriage. No, I'm good. We don't have to work together.
Exactly. The sanity that I'm going to have to sacrifice right now. It's not worth it.
It's so funny. Like in the very beginning, and Kofi can tell you, I used to work with everybody. I could have given two shits what you did, who you were. I don't care. Just give me the money, because you need the money in the beginning, right? So to be at the point that it could be like, no, that really, if our values don't align, we're not. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And that was really, that was hard. Has to be out. Because, I've turned in the last, what are we in July? Probably the last like 6-7 months, I've turned down a lot of money. And like where I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning going, shit, did I do it? Did I really just say no to that? And then my wife is like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I got to sleep at night.
Yeah. I mean, and that definitely happens over time because like you said in the beginning, everybody, you need the money. And then also
and there's
you don't know what
that.
The red flags are.
Like I really want to be clear, right? You got to do what you got to do to start. No. When you get to the point that, you get to that point, then you do that. But until then, take the money, do the thing, because you need to, or you don't get it, you don't get ahead.
No, absolutely. And like there is no shame, but what I'm starting to develop for myself, honestly, is a rubric, because like I get sucked into the moment. I'm a people pleaser as well. So I will be like, oh my God, absolutely. I can help you with those things. And, yes. Oh, you need to sure, this is what we're going to do. Like, but what I've started is building a rubric out for myself to be like, okay, so here are the qualifiers at one level for clients. Now let's talk about these other qualifiers, because I will, there's a deep passion for all of us that we want to help everybody. We start out wanting to help people, and that is why we do what we do. Right. But unfortunately, I mean, we can't. And like, as a people pleaser, that's really
and
hard
I think
to
for me, that was the biggest thing too, was that I can't help everybody, you know? And what I found, that the really interesting thing, and I told you this, you know, one of my coaches years ago told me to be less me, and I was less me. And when you are not authentic, you attract the people that are attracted to the inauthentic you. And then when the real you comes out, they're like, what the hell is that? Right. And then they go running. But if you're authentic in the beginning, then you're attracting the right people to you. And we did this, like, this was so funny. A few weeks ago we had, and it's going to air on July 30th. Yours isn't going to air until I think August, or I don't know where you are right now. Probably like late August, September. But we did an interview with Woke American Apparel. And so that was on before this one. So y'all know what I'm talking about. You don't. And they are what they say. They're Woke American Apparel. He's a veteran, and he wants to take the flag back. He wants to take the flag back, the patriotism back, like all of the shit that really meant something before it didn't, or before it meant something bad. And we got political. I have never gotten political. Like, everybody knows which way I lean, right? I mean, I'm married to a woman. Mm-hmm. Clearly I'm not, you know. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and we like went down the rabbit hole. And when we were done with the episode, I was like, oh, I said, Kofi, should we air this? And he was like, yep, 100%. Because at the end of the day, you know, it's like, if our values don't align, they don't align. And I also feel, however, that we are more alike than not, but a lot of people just won't recognize that. And they, hopefully, things will change now.
I'm going to keep my fingers crossed.
I bought my Chucks today.
We definitely need
bought my Chucks, and I got my shirt. I bought like a shirt 2 years ago, and I was in my closet last night. I've been out of the closet like 40 years, but I was in my clothing closet last night, and I forgot that I bought a shirt when they were running, and it's a Kamala shirt, and I'm like, yes. So I'm super excited. Yes.
Oh, I love that though. I mean, and you know, one thing that, and I'm still not totally comfortable yet, right? But polarizing, like being polarizing and being like, because in reality, like my authentic self has opinions.
No, not
but
you.
Sometimes, you know, I know, right? But sometimes it doesn't feel safe to share because of the world we live in now and the things that people say.
Which is what we need to take back.
And
especially BIPOC, right? I mean, that's just, anyway, and I think for me, what's going to be really interesting, should I get, we'll get a little political. And now we're in, so right now it's July 23rd. And all of this just happened 2 days ago. So who knows where it's going to be like by the time this thing airs, right? But, you know, as of 2 days ago, you know, the temperature has changed big time. People are excited. People are, you know, like I'm looking at Biden. And again, we don't know what happened. I'm hoping he's still alive right now. But I don't know, because this is a month from now. Well, no, I really mean it.
Oh, no, right. I was like, wait. I was like,
I don't know what the hell is going on. Like, you know, he's supposed to talk to the country tomorrow. So once I hear that, I'll be good. Sorry. Anyway, so
we'll see.
But he has a lot of work to do, right? Between now and by the time she gets elected, because she's going to win. And I think that the biggest thing for me was, go ahead and get racist, because you're going to lose that block. Go ahead and talk crappy about women like you always do. And now you're going to, because now everybody's energized again. It's a whole different ballgame. Oh yeah.
We're listening. Oh, yeah. We're listening. And it goes, you know, I think it just goes back to that journey that we take as entrepreneurs, right? Like the more further down we get, the more polarizing we have to be. And the more wrong we actually have to sound sometimes, you know, like in a way where it's like, other people will think you are wrong for what you believe or for what your opinion is. And, you know, with marketing, sales, ops, everything is just evolving every day. Like new ways of doing things using same old methods are coming up, you know? So I think that there's just the evolution of just being human here. And then the experiences that you take as an entrepreneur, it's amazing. And even it just reminded me of kind of what you said earlier in terms of, you know, there was an evolution in the word sales and how people sell, right? Like back in the day, it was very different. Handshakes, etc., non-women handshakes. And, you know, now then it went through the bro code of evolution of like scary marketing of like, if you don't buy now, you're never going to get this again. Like
insane. Do you know what I do? If people pay for so, you know, we have different services. I'm putting out there because people are like, oh my God, are you insane? But no, if people want to pay me for SEO, right? And they're doing it for 6 months to start and they want to pay that up front, I'm going to take a certain amount of money off of that for them. And they're like, wait a minute, like, what? You're what? And it's like, I don't play that. Oh my God, you have to do SEO now. I do say, if you're not online, you're not an option. I'm actually trademarking that, right? Because if your competitor is out there and you're not an option, right? And it's the same thing with SEO. So, you know, and I had that conversation because as a marketer, it's my job to tell you that if so-and-so is out there, and they're your competitor and you're not, who do you think is going to get the business? Now, if you're not ready to do it, that's great. But just realize you should start putting money away so that you can do it because you're going to need to do it at some point. And then, you know, like I said, when they're ready and they come to me and it's like, if you're going to do that, I'll give you this much off. And they're just like, holy crap. And it's funny because one of my clients I did it for, and she was like, should I not say anything? And I said, I wouldn't blast it around. I mean, I just did, but they don't know how much, right? But it was like, you know, she was like, this is such a good selling point for you. Like I can refer you left and right. And you know, and I said, yeah, but that's not what it's about for me. I mean, yes, I want to help you, but for me, it's like, if that is going to be the impetus that's going to help you help yourself, then I'll do it all day long. Because I'm in business to help a business grow. And I'm in business and what you do and what I do matters, because what we do helps the businesses grow. And when the businesses grow, they get to hire people. And when they hire people, they get to feed their families. And it's like this whole, right? It's like an amazing ripple. And that's the lens that I look at stuff through. It's like, what can I do? You know, how can my efforts help you? And if they can't, then I'm not going to work with you. But if they can, then I'm going to work with you all day long and I'm going to bust my ass for you. And I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get it done. And, you know, and that's how I became successful. And it was a long road because, you know, I couldn't always say, pay me for 6 months ahead and I'll give you that much off. It was like, please pay me for 6 months ahead, you know, whatever. And to be in that position, I'm very grateful for that because, you know, I know a lot of people can't do that. So, but okay, getting back to operations, because we are so bad. I think Kofi's probably back there going, oh my God, you're worse than like you and Scott. So Scott is coach and he has like ADHD and the two of us. Did you see that episode?
I'm like, oh, I love it. I didn't. I want to watch that one now, though.
That's and I'm going to have him on again this year. But the two of us are like, we're going, blah, 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 and he's a gay man. So he's a gay business coach with ADHD, and he speaks faster than most New Yorkers do. And the two of us are like going on Squirrel, and we're texting each other like, okay, reel it in. And Kofi's like, oh my God, pull it, And so
I love it because I am the same way. It's the ADHD and I'm medicated, but like it goes,
I couldn't do it. They gave me like Adderall. They gave me something. It might have been, I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But whatever they gave me, it made me like a zombie. And I couldn't, like, I was completely talking like this. And I had lunch with a friend of mine, and she was like, I've never seen you this calm. And I said, it's because I'm on a drug that I'm going to be off as soon as it wears off. Like, I was just like, I can't do this. And I told my doctor, and she goes, well, we could try something else. And I went, no, I'm okay. Because I can stay on track probably 80% of the time. It's just that 20% like now where we just go into the, okay. So what is an obstacle that you've gone through that maybe a seasoned entrepreneur right now is going through? And like, how did you handle it? Or are you still going through it?
So last year was incredibly traumatic for me. I mean, business was really bad. The market was really bad. My energy was really bad, and it literally felt like amongst the darkest periods of my life, because it was like that moment where you feel powerless. You feel like there is just no changing the outer circumstances for your benefit in any way, shape, or form. I don't know how I'm going to get clients. I know nobody, I don't, and I was already in business and I had already reached, 6 figures, and I was still on that, and that was fine. But like, it was not enough. Like, I was growing rapidly, and last year, like, it just kind of got like, it just stopped. And it was so difficult. And, like, I've reached out to you. We were talking for periods. You walked me through lots of, like, God bless you. But like, it was reaching out to other people who were going through those times or who have gone through those times, that really, really made the difference for me. I even tried to apply for jobs and, thought like, had ChatGPT write my cover letters, like, it was really, really a dark period. And, we all go through it, and I'm going to say for a fact that that's not going to be the last time I go through something like that, because we really do go through these evolutions of ourselves. And exactly. And, one thing that I realized was like, reaching out and talking about it isn't commiserating all the time. Like, you have to give space to everything that's happening, and you have to give voice to everything you're feeling. And no matter what it is, obviously don't stay in there forever, right? Like, depression really does get us. And I also have that. And so, like, there's the anxiety, the depression, the ADHD, all the craziness. And so that also, is a way and a reason that I need to talk to other people about things. It kind of keeps me in check of like, okay, am I going down too far, right? If I'm talking about the same thing for 3 weeks in a row, there's something I'm not doing, and I have to take responsibility for that. So, I would say that, and like, last year was a huge obstacle. And what I did was, one, I reached out to people, and I really, last year I discovered the Dames. It's been a full year, and, I discovered the Dames. I went to the Funference, which is the first conference I've been to in God knows when, because, COVID and everything. So I reached out to some people that I met there, and then I just gave it space. Like, there was no going around it. It was having to go through it.
And I think that's it. You have to go through it to get to the other side, right? And, I remember, our conversations, and for me, it was always just let yourself feel it. Like, I'm not going to tell you not to feel it. I'm not like, I have people come to me and they're like, well, what do I do? And it's like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I will listen, because you don't need, and I learned this from, years of therapy, with the best therapist in the world. Because she would, I'd be like, how do I fix this? And she'd be like, I don't know. How do I fix this? And I'd be like, fuck you. I'm paying you. Tell me. like I'll never forget that. And I'll say her name because she was Angie Michalak, best therapist in Illinois. Anyway, she was just amazing. And she, I would be like, why, what am I supposed to do? And she would get it out of me. And it would be, she would call it my light bulb moment, where she said it would be, she goes, you could just see the light go off in your eyes. And you're like, oh, that's why. And that's the best feeling in the world, because you're not having somebody telling you what to do. You're figuring it out on your own. You're venting, you're getting all the shit out. And as you're talking, because I remember the conversation that we had, and we were talking and you were like, oh, duh. I'm going to go do that right now. And I just was sitting there like, okay, thank you, Angie, for teaching me. So it's all about paying it forward, right? And you've had like an amazing year now. You've, really come into your own, so many good things. So I'm super excited for that. What's your differentiator?
Whew. I go at operations is my love language. That is what I call it. It is everything and anything about me. How in the Matrix, when you see they look at people and they see the numbers, that's me, but operations. So I'm like, steps, processes, efficiency, optimization. What are we doing? So, my differentiator though, is that when it comes to developing systems and structure, we first start out with your vision, your values, and your team. So how is it your habits? What do you do normally, right? How do you function? What is your favorite thing to do? It's understanding a human and then understanding the business as well, right? Because that's one thing we forget. We are not our business. Our business is a piece, it's an entity outside of us. And so, yes, I always ask, what are your personal goals? What are your personal core values? And then what are your business core values? What are your business vision? So we have to start, I think about people, their business, the health of them, and the health of their business. And so it's all around kind of I
love human. That. It's very heart-centered.
Humanizing.
So, yeah, I love that. So how do people find you?
So I am primarily on LinkedIn, and I have been getting my podcast ready for release. So when that's ready, it'll come out, and, people can listen to me there. And I have also been considering bringing Instagram up, but I don't know. Or Twitter, X, whatever. I don't know. But anyway, LinkedIn.
Okay, cool. And you have a website?
LinkedIn and my podcast. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My website. That too. That's that's a good one. OperationQOL.com. That is a great website to go to.
That's what I'm here for. And of course, we're over an hour. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day today. I always love we need to talk more, because I love talking to you. It's always. And I can't believe we're here already, but the last question that I ask all my guests is, what lights your fire?
I'm going to be really like nerdy and tell you operations. Like literally operate, like understanding all of those things. It is, I'm getting tingles now. So I have to just say making things better, right? And that's what I do in operations. I make everything better. I try to like help people achieve a higher quality of life. And that is what my empire is dedicated to.
My empire. I love that. Okay, you listening, everybody? We have a Sonia. Yep, there we go. All right. It is going to be an empire for Sonia Norviz. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Hang on. I'm going to say goodbye to the audience and I will be right back. Everybody, thank you once again for hanging out over an hour with me. I can't believe you're not bored yet, but but really, thank you for hanging out with me and my guests. And again, please share, like, subscribe, and review. We need reviews. And everyone keeps saying, how do I get these really great guests on? And I meet people and I get a gut feeling. And I know who to bring on, and I know who you all are going to relate to. It's my superpower. So thank you so much for, helping me keep going, because the more you watch, the more you subscribe, the more you like, it keeps going. And I can do this forever. This is like one of my favorite things. So until next time, go out and find what lights your fire. See you, everyone.